It was past midnight, but Jungkook was yet to be home. He had promised to come home for dinner, but it was way past dinner time. You had made Jungkook's favorite dishes, in hopes that he would be coming home earlier than usual. Although you were upset that he had broken his promise, you were more worried about his health. With the comeback drawing near, Jungkook had been overworking himself for the past few days. He had a permanent set of dark eye bags, from barely sleeping a couple of hours before staying cooped up in the practice room and studio for the whole day. You could see him growing thinner each day as he often skipped meals and worked out to look good. He was a perfectionist, but it was getting out of hand at the rate that he was going. He had a bad habit of completely neglecting his health. He never checked his phone when he was at work, so you had almost no means of contacting him. Luckily, some of the members were more responsible, offering to convey your messages and reminders to him. That allowed you to get updates from the members as well on how Jungkook was coping. They were also worried for their maknae, who overworked himself to keep up his image as the golden maknae. One of the members had informed you that Jungkook had been skipping lunch lately to practice his solo performances, so you packed him some snack bars to have a quick bite, instead of completely skipping lunch. You could only hope that he ate them at least. Jungkook promised to be home by 10 p.m. and watch a movie since it had been very long since you both spent time together. On top of being late, Jungkook's phone was switched off, so you were more concerned you had already eaten, but Jungkook's food had gone cold. Fighting back the urge to drag him back home, you paced across the living room. Finally, you heard footsteps outside the door. You almost ran up to the door to welcome him, but you stopped yourself. Nagging or advising him was useless, as he never followed them for long enough, so you would have to resort to being harsher. The sound of the door unlocking reached your ears, and you pulled on a poker face. Of course, you wanted to yell at him and let him know how disappointed you were at his lack of concern for his own well-being, but doing that would only result in arguments. "Oh, you're awake?" Jungkook drawled out, his lips attempting to lift up in a smile, but it looked more like a grimace. Huffing from exertion, Jungkook dragged his feet to the sofa before sitting at the edge. "Go to bed. Why? Nen, why are you still up? You have work tomorrow, right?" he asked from his spot, concern flickering through his orbs. A wave of anger took over you. How could he be so hypocritical and tell you to go to bed when he was wrecking himself? Controlling your emotions, you tried to keep your voice steady as you gave him a short response. "You said you'd be home by 10. Speak for yourself, Chun." It was rude, but you were tired of him ignoring your words each day. His skin was deathly pale, eyes barely staying open as his body begged for rest, but Jungkook never listened. One look at the bulging side pocket of his bag was enough to tell you that he had neither eaten the granola bar nor lunch. If you didn't stay up to make sure he ate dinner, he would have just gone to bed on an empty stomach. How could a man even survive on one meal a day when his schedules were jam-packed? Look, If this is about the movie, then I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I never make time for you these days. You know how it gets around comeback time, right? Why? And why are you getting mad all of a sudden? Jungkook raised his voice slightly, coughing at the end, when it cracked from overexertion. Although you were giving him a silent treatment, you couldn't. Just leave him to starve. Letting out a sigh, you heated up his food while remaining silent. You wanted to argue back and tell him you didn't need his apology. It was never about missing the movie. You were disappointed that he prioritized work over his own health and ignored your reminders. As you remained silent, Jungkook continued to justify his actions by explaining that his dance was not up to the mark and how he needed to work harder. You resisted the urge to roll your eyes at his self-criticism. You really respected his dedication and passion, but you hated seeing him in such an unhealthy state. Why did he not realize that he was risking his own health? So, you're not going to say anything? Is this a silent treatment? YN, please, I'm trying my best here. Why do you act like this? I said, I'm sorry. Don't ignore me. He tried again, sounding weaker with each passing second. So, you glanced at him every few seconds to make sure he was all right. He was slumped onto the sofa, exhaustion clear on his features. Placing the food on the table, you didn't bother to respond to his questions. Eat, we'll talk tomorrow, you said with finality. At that, Jungkook seemed to be relieved. But he was clearly struggling to get up and walk over. He pushed himself up with effort, almost going breathless from the simple action. Even as he stood, he swayed on his feet slightly, holding up a hand to his head as he slowly made his way over. That was when things took a turn for the worst. Seeing Jungkook's eyes lose focus, you quickly understood that he was feeling dizzy. However, everything happened so fast after that. Jungkook's eyes rolled back and his body collapsed to the ground with a loud thud. His head would have taken a hard hit to the ground if not for your hand that shot out on instinct before it was too late. Jungkook, wake up, you shook him, pulling him onto your lap. You were not too shocked, having expected him to pass out eventually from all the stress and overworking. It happened sooner than you would have thought. Forcing yourself to remain level-headed, you grabbed a cushion from the sofa and placed it under his head. His body was limp and heavy, making it harder for you to flip him to the side, but you managed to. Jungkook was still breathing, so you decided to grab some water and a straw to offer him when he woke up. When you returned, Jungkook was still not awake yet, but you saw some movement beneath his closed eyelids. Carting your fingers through his hair, you softly called out his name to rouse him awake. Slowly, Jungkook's bleary eyes came into focus with yours. Why? He mumbled, confusion setting in as he realized that he was on the floor. Here, lean on me. Drink this. I'll hold it for you. You guided him to sip the water, and your rapid heartbeat finally calmed down. Jungkook appeared to be falling back asleep as his responses grew more muted and body slumped onto yours more with each passing second. You asked him a few questions just to make sure he stayed awake, while you quickly fixed a meal that was easier on the stomach. "Just a few bites and we'll go to bed, you persuaded him to eat more. Jungkook was oddly silent and listened to your words without any complaints. "Is anything wrong? You've been too quiet. Hurt anywhere?" You asked him, scanning his body for any injuries, spotting a few bruises, both old and new. He shook his head, but you examined them anyway. It was normal for him to sport some bruises from dance practice, so you weren't too worried, although you hoped he'd be more careful, applying some cream on the fresh and fading ones. You let out a sigh of relief that he wasn't badly injured. Jungkook weakly called your name, telling you not to worry. Of course, he still put your emotions before his ruined Heath, even when he could barely sit straight without his body, caving in to sheer exhaustion. You took quite a hard fall, baby. Look what happened. You fainted. Jungkook you need rest. Please listen to me. I'll inform your members that you won't be coming tomorrow, okay? You pleaded, pushing the loose strands out of his face. I don't even know what I would have done if something worse happened. You trailed off, holding back your tears but failed. Wordlessly, Jungkook cupped your face with his palms. I am so sorry. Don't cry, baby. I'm okay. I'm right here. Sorry, I shouldn't have gone this far, Jungkook apologized, catching your tears with the pad of his thumbs as they rolled out of your eyes. Soon, you calmed down, but Jungkook was having a hard time staying awake. Tucking him to bed, you sent in a quick text to your workplace that you would be taking a leave the following day. His eyes were half-lidded, movements sluggish as he forced himself to stay awake for you. Sleep, Jungkook. Don't fight it, baby. I'll be here tomorrow too. I'm going nowhere. We'll both sleep in and have a lazy day, You wrapped your arms around his torso. Jungkook snuggled up to you, burying his nose into your neck. Holding him tighter, you closed your eyes with content. It didn't take long for the both of you to drift off after a long and tiring day.